Have you ever wondered why some loves begin action? He is not simply in love with you. He is in love with the repressed parts of himself that you have inadvertently awakened. Imagine this. For years, he has lived within the framework of rules. He is the type of man tied to numbers, plans, and responsibilities. He has learned to hide his freedom, his youthful rebellion, in order to become the reliable man. But then he meets you, a woman who dares to laugh loudly, who dares to speak her desires openly, whose eyes light up when she talks about her passions. In that instant, he does not only see you, he sees the freedom he once denied himself, and he thinks he is madly in love with you. In truth, he is in love with the aliveness within himself, reflected back by you. Perhaps you have experienced this in the opposite direction. You meet a gentle man who listens, who is unafraid to show vulnerability. Meanwhile, because of past wounds, you have learned to be so strong that you rarely allow yourself to be fragile. By his side, you feel you are finally allowed to breathe, to be weak, to cry without judgment. You think this is love. But if you look closer, it is also projection. You are in love with the tenderness you once denied in yourself. He is only the mirror, showing you the part of your soul you need to reconnect with. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." When a man looks at you and exclaims, "You are my destiny," what he may really mean is, "You have just touched the part of my soul I never dared to live." It is like a man lost in darkness who suddenly sees the first lantern. He believes that light is his savior, his only source of life. But that light only reveals the road that has always been beneath his feet. You are the lantern in his life, not because you create a new path, but because you illuminate the path he never dared to walk. and that is why the feeling of you is always so powerful, beyond ordinary logic. This explains why some loves ignite intensely from the start, with irresistible passion, yet easily collapse. When the mist of projection clears, people realize they were never truly in love with each other, but with their own shadows reflected in one another. That is when painful questions arise. Why has he changed so quickly? Or, where is the man I loved at the beginning? In reality, he never changed. Only the image you both projected onto each other has vanished. But do not rush to think projection is a tragedy. It can also be a gift. When you make someone fall in love with you in an inexplicable way, you are in fact opening a door for them into themselves. They see the freedom, the courage, the tenderness, or the creativity they had buried. And thanks to you, they realize that part is still alive, waiting to be acknowledged. This means your presence not only brings love, but also becomes a catalyst for inner awakening. Think back. How many times have you been admired by men for your strength, while you only saw yourself as weak? How many times have you been loved for your sweetness, while you once thought tenderness was a flaw? The words they give you do not only describe you, they reveal them, and the part of themselves you illuminated. A man may be enchanted because he sees in you the freedom he never lived. Or he may be drawn to you simply because you dare to do what he never could, to cry when hurt, to laugh when happy, to voice your true needs. In his eyes, you become the image he has always longed for himself. And the miracle is, you did not need to try to be loved. By being real, you became the mirror reflecting his soul. Love in this way is both dangerous and magical. Dangerous, because if both people are not conscious, they will chase illusions and then despair when illusions dissolve. But magical, because it helps us see ourselves more clearly, daring to face the parts we once denied. And for you, listening to these words, here is a truth. Many men love you not only because you are you, they love you because you make them see themselves. You are like a transparent mirror, and sometimes they mistake that feeling for absolute love. So what should you do? Not reject such love, but recognize, he sees me, but often he is only seeing himself. When you understand this, you are no longer dependent on someone else's feelings. You know how to stay grounded and allow love to become a journey of growth, not just reflection. A man may be passionate because you live freely, but if you are conscious, you will not let that love turn into imprisonment. You will remind him and yourself that love is not, I need you to feel free, but we are free together. We see each other. That is the secret of projection. It gives us fiery beginnings, but also sets us challenges. And only by overcoming them can love move from reflection to reality. Because when the illusions vanish, if both are brave enough to remain and look at each other with bare eyes, man, shaped by her father or other male figures from childhood. Some are drawn to calm, protective men because they echo the safety their father once gave. Others are stirred by decisive, strong men because that image was deeply imprinted early on. This explains why, when grown, some men are inexplicably drawn to a very specific type of woman, smiling eyes, a soft voice, or even a certain cold aloofness. This is not chance, but the anima in him recognizing a familiar signal. And in turn, some women are only moved by a particular kind of masculinity, steadiness, frankness, or freedom. That is the animus working like an invisible magnet. Thus, when you step into someone's life and unknowingly carry traits that match their anima or animus, their heart immediately responds. They feel you are special, different from everyone else, even believe this is fate. In truth, it is not magic, but resonance with an image etched in their unconscious. I once heard a woman share that she never understood why she was always attracted to men with deep, calm voices. After many failures, she realized that image was identical to her father, a quiet man who always made her feel safe. That feeling became a call in her unconscious, so every time she met a man with a similar presence, her heart immediately stirred. It was not a conscious choice, but her animus whispering, "This is the familiar pattern." In Greek mythology, there is the story of Pygmalion, the sculptor who created a statue of the perfect woman according to his inner ideal. Day after day, he fell in love with his own creation because it embodied the image he always desired. Finally, the goddess Aphrodite took pity and brought the statue to life. This story symbolizes anima animus. We often love not just the real person before us, but the ideal image within us. And when someone fits that image, we mistake it for magic. If you notice, love at first sight often happens when someone accidentally matches another's anima, animus. It is like an unconscious door suddenly opening. Why is it that sometimes you barely know someone, yet your heart trembles? Your eyes are fixed on them. It is not because you know them well, but because your anima or animus has recognized a familiar frequency. You think, "This is my type." But in reality, it is a template living in your unconscious all along. Jung emphasized, anima, animus, can be a bridge towards spiritual growth, but if we cling to it unconsciously, it can lead us astray. For we may fall in love with an inner image, not the real flesh and blood person before us. And when that image fades, disappointment follows, as if waking from a dream. But if you are a woman who understands this mechanism, you will no longer wonder, "Why does he love me so much from the beginning?" You will know a part of him has carried your image for a long time. Your appearance merely triggered that unconscious seed. And the key is, if both remain conscious, love can move from blind unconsciousness to genuine understanding. Think about this. You do not need to resemble anyone. You do not need to become a mold to be loved. Every man already has his own anima, and when you happen to touch it, love will naturally arise. What you must do is not to play a role, but to remain your true self, giving love the chance to grow from unconsciousness to awareness. Anima and animus also explain why we sometimes repeat the same patterns in relationships, loving the same type again and again. A woman with an absent father may be drawn to distant, cold men, as if searching for the missing piece. A man raised by a critical mother may be drawn to strong, sharp women, but also be easily wounded by harshness. Only when we become aware of this can we freely choose love, not only through unconscious repetition, but through maturity. The point is, when you match someone's animus, you become the embodiment of an image long carried in their heart. You become special, not because you try, but because you unknowingly touch the deepest level of their soul. And that feeling of familiarity, of destiny, makes you unforgettable. Number 3. From the initial passion to when the illusion fades. When love first begins, it is like a fire blazing in the night. Everything happens so quickly you cannot analyze it. His gaze makes you believe the world has shrunk to just two people, and your heart insists this is the answer you've been seeking. In those early days, love feels magical. A single text makes you smile all day. A touch of hands keeps you awake all night. But behind this explosion lies a sophisticated psychological mechanism. Both are in love with an image, not yet with each other's true selves. They love the feeling awakened, the belief they have found the perfect half. And over time, that veil of illusion begins to because the other's presence already carries meaning. If unconscious love is fire, then mature love is ember. The fire excites, but the ember sustains life. A fire lights up a room, but only briefly. The ember is not dazzling, but it lasts, giving steady warmth. In marriage or long relationships, what keeps two people together is not fleeting flames, but patient embers, repeated choices of love over years. And if you realize someone patiently keeps choosing you, holding you through all changes, that is the clearest proof. They love you for you. When love matures, you notice something new. Conflicts no longer scare you. Instead of thinking, "He has changed, love is gone," you learn to ask, "What can we learn from this difference?" Instead of leaving when tired, you learn to stay, to listen, to seek common ground, because you know love is not the absence of problems, but facing them together. And by doing so, you realize they love you not for perfection, but for who you are. From here, the foundation for a lasting relationship is formed. When someone loves you for you, love is no longer fragile like a dream, but becomes a solid home where you can return after everything. It is not fireworks, but ember, quiet, enduring, and strong enough to last a lifetime. Number 5. Practical application: how to live and love from truth instead of illusion. After the blazing intensity of early days, when intoxication fades, we understand love is not just a series of sweet feelings. Love, to last, cannot rely only on moments of passion. It requires practice, daily choices, and courage to face both yourself and your partner in truth. Jung once wrote, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." This is not only for the personal journey, but also for love. For only when we dare to see ourselves clearly can we love and accept the other in their wholeness. Living and loving authentically begins with recognition. Many believe that powerful emotion is destiny, but without pausing to ask, "What in this person makes me tremble?" they easily make mistakes. A distant man may attract you not because he is your soulmate, but because he echoes your cold father. A gentle woman may make him believe in destiny, but only because she mirrors the mother who once embraced him. Without recognition, we repeat cycles, loving the same type, suffering the same story. After recognition comes observation, not to judge, but to see recurring patterns. Why are you often drawn to those who avoid commitment? Why are you loved for strength while deep down craving softness? The moment you observe, you stop being a victim and become a learner of your own experience. But recognition and observation are not enough. The next step, the hardest, is awareness. Awareness is daring to be real, removing masks once thought necessary to be loved. How many times did you hide sadness for fear of seeming weak? How many times did you fake strength to match the image of an independent woman? Such roles only create love built on illusion. When you show only the bright part, they love the illusion, not you. Only when you appear whole, both tenderness and fragility, does love get the chance to be real. For love to last, it must be nurtured. Feelings do not maintain themselves. Nurturing means saying you are sad when sad, instead of silence, asking when you need, instead of pretending fine. Nurturing also means letting the other be themselves, instead of forcing them into your imagined mold. Mature love does not grow from unrealistic expectations, but mutual acceptance. A key element of true love is letting go of control. In love, we often want the other to fill our void, but no one can do that. If we do not see this, we fall into the cycle of hope and disappointment, expecting, then blaming. Only when you take responsibility for your own emptiness can love become freedom instead of dependence. Are you truly ready to practice this? Press like on this video as a signal to the universe that you choose real love over illusion. And if you can, leave a comment revealing the small first step you will dare to take today to start loving with awakened eyes. In a Jungian therapy session, a man confessed he always felt his wife did not love him enough. He compared her to the image in his protective mother. When his wife failed to do the same, he was disappointed. Through conversation, he realized he was searching for his mother in his wife, expecting her to heal childhood wounds. When truth emerged, he wept. He understood his wife was not his mother, and she was not responsible for his healing. Only by facing his own lack could he see her as independent and love her for herself, not for the unconscious image. From then, their love could finally escape illusion. A real relationship does not mean no hardship. There will still be conflict, difference. But instead of seeing difference as a threat, you see it as a chance to grow. Instead of leaving when the other no longer matches fantasy, you stay to know their true self. That choice, repeated, is the foundation of mature love. In the end, love is not finding the right person, but learning to love a real one in both their light and shadow. When you start living truthfully, subtle changes appear. You no longer panic at silence, knowing silence is not always rejection. You no longer prove worth by over-giving, knowing your value is not in others' eyes. You no longer try to be perfect to deserve love. Instead, realize it, but the exhaustion after every attempt to be loved, the anxiety when no one praises you, or the emptiness after a day of living up to standard, all are signs that you are living like a mirror reflecting others' expectations, rather than living as yourself. Today, millions of women grow up with an unspoken belief that their value must be given to them by a lover, a friend, a parent, a boss, social media. One compliment can make them feel like they are shining. One criticism can make them collapse. They live as if constantly waiting for applause from someone to believe they are good enough. But then comes a turning point. One day, not necessarily a big event, just a quiet moment, that woman looks back at her journey, and she realizes, all this time, she has lived to be chosen, but never once chosen herself. I once heard a woman describe her awakening moment like this. She had been the ideal girl, good grades, well-behaved, attractive, with a good job and a successful boyfriend. On social media, everyone envied her life. But one night, sitting alone in her well-furnished apartment, she burst into tears for no reason. She said, "Everything is fine, but I can't find myself in any of it." That sentence may sound simple, but it was the key. Because from that moment, she began to ask herself, if I no longer need anyone's approval, how will I live? The transformation began with that question. Not a loud, dramatic change, not destroying everything old, but a quiet shedding of leaves. She gradually stopped trying to fit into any mold. Instead of wearing clothes her boyfriend liked, she chose what made her feel comfortable. Instead of agreeing to go out because he likes that place, she said honestly, "Tonight I want to stay home." Instead of writing posts to be praised as inspiring, she began writing honestly about herself, even if messy, incomplete, but alive. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." It was in that moment of turning inward that she began to awaken. Awakening is not knowing everything. It is simply no longer pretending you don't know what you truly need. One image I love to describe this transformation is that of a candle in a dark room. When she was still seeking validation, the woman was like someone running around with a mirror, trying to catch light from elsewhere to reflect onto herself. But when she stopped and lit the candle within, the room gradually brightened, no longer needing to beg for light. And that flame, when truly lit from within, quietly draws others in without invitation. The interesting thing is, when a woman stops seeking validation, she doesn't become indifferent or arrogant. She can still receive compliments, but she no longer lives off them. She can still be hurt by criticism, but she no longer loses herself because of it. Because now, someone's words about her are no longer the only mirror reflecting her worth. She has an inner mirror, bright and clear enough. In her work, she no longer chooses what seems reasonable, but seeks what makes her heart stir. Even if her income initially drops, even if no one understands, she continues, because she has understood. Living as a truth is more important than any safety gained by pretending. In love, she no longer tries to be chosen. She chooses herself first. When she loves genuinely, not trying to fit in, not distorting herself to be loved longer. And paradoxically, that is what deepens the relationship. The man beside her feels connected to a real person, not a version built to make him comfortable. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a forest. Two women pass by. One wears an elaborate dress, high heels, fussing over finding the best photo angle, asking constantly, "Do I look okay? Is the lighting here good?" The other is simply dressed, hair tied up, head tilted toward the leaves, hand touching the tree trunk, eyes closed in a deep breath. Who will you remember longer? The second, not because she is flashy, but because she is real. True radiance doesn't need spotlights. It shines from within, when someone dares to live as a truth, without permission, without applause. In analytical psychology, Jung calls this state harmony with the self, the whole, authentic self. When living from the self, a woman is no longer controlled by the persona, the social mask she once wore to be liked. She is also no longer ruled by the ego, the self full of fear that she's not enough. She becomes herself, whole, alive, imperfect, but real. Another clear example of this transformation is French actress Marion Cotillard. At one point, the press called her too strange, hard to understand, because she didn't attend entertainment events, didn't update social media, and turned down roles that could have made her more famous. But in an interview, she once said, "I don't live to make people like me. I live to like myself." And that made her a unique symbol in a Hollywood full of carbon copies. And you? Have you ever been tired of always having to please someone? Ever felt beautiful only when someone said, "You're beautiful," and ugly the moment they turned away? Ever judged your entire day by likes, reply counts, or a compliment from your boss? If so, it's not your fault. That's how we were taught to live, from very early on. But you are also the one who can choose again, right now. No big turning point needed, no loud change. Just stop, take a breath, and ask, if I no longer need anyone's validation, how will I live? At first, you may not know the answer, but the question itself is the first step toward living as a truth. Little by little, stopping the search for validation is enough to be free. But it's not. You may have stopped putting on makeup to please someone's taste, stopped dressing to score points, stopped writing inspirational posts just to be applauded, yet still continue to smile while your heart is breaking. You still nod when you want to refuse. You still swallow your feelings, just to keep the surface of a relationship calm. In the modern world, one of the most deeply hidden things is true feelings. Not because we don't have them, but because we've learned how to turn them off. From a young age, many girls have been taught to be pleasant, which means knowing how to hold back, knowing how to be gentle, knowing how to maintain harmony. A good woman is one who makes others feel comfortable, even when she doesn't feel comfortable with herself. A woman once said in a Jungian group therapy session that what exhausted her most was not her work, but the smile she had to keep every day. She couldn't remember when it began, but for as long as she could recall, she had learned that being agreeable meant being loved. So every time someone was careless, she smiled and said, "It's okay." Every time she felt hurt, she said, "I'm fine." Every time something made her uncomfortable, she swallowed it down and stayed silent. Until one day, when someone asked her, "How do you feel?" She didn't know how to answer. Not because she had no feelings, but because she had forgotten how to name them. It's a familiar phenomenon for anyone who has lived too long in the habit of pleasing. But the more we try to please, the further we drift from our center. And what we think is a connection often turns out to be only a compromise. Carl Jung called unacknowledged emotions the shadow split off from consciousness. They do not disappear. They hide and wait for a chance to control us from behind, making us burst into tears during a small argument, feel rage over something trivial, or go completely numb when we need to speak the truth. This isn't because we're too sensitive. It's because we've been silent for too long. Being honest with your feelings doesn't mean exposing everything. It simply means not betraying what's alive inside you. It means daring to admit, "I'm hurt. I feel abandoned. I feel uncomfortable," and daring to say it, not to demand anything, but to connect more authentically. There's a beautiful literary image I always think of when I picture a woman who dares to leave behind the pleasant role. It's Jane Eyre, from Charlotte Bronte's novel of the same name. Jane is not the type of character who impresses with flamboyance or beauty. She is quiet, steadfast, and what moves people about her is not that she pleases others, but that she dares to speak the truth of her feelings. Even in deep love, she can say no when it harms her dignity. Even when seen as inferior, she will not remain silent just to be kept. There's a moment when she says to Rochester, the man she loves, that I believe is one of the most powerful declarations of a woman's honesty. "Do you think I am a machine without feelings?" And she continues, "I have as much soul as you, and full as much heart." Feelings don't need to always be explained or justified. They just need to be heard. And sometimes, all you need is to learn how to say, "I'm not okay. I need a little space," or "I feel hurt." You don't need others to understand. You just need to be sincere enough to stop silencing yourself. The miracle is, when you are honest with your feelings, not only will you not be pushed away, you will become radiant and magnetic in a different way. People will no longer come to you because you always know how to make them comfortable, but because with you, they too can be themselves. In a world full of performed relationships, from greetings to intimacy, an honest person is always a special anchor. They make others feel they can breathe. No need to guess intentions. No need to check tone. No need to worry about causing trouble. Just to be real and enough. You'll know you've begun to transform when you stop apologizing for feeling, when you no longer rush to smile to smooth the air, when you dare to say no, even knowing it may displease someone, when you dare to say, "I'm hurt," without feeling weak, and when you know telling the truth is not to be accepted, it's so you no longer reject yourself. Jung once wrote, "Emotion is the chief source of becoming conscious. Feelings are the source of awakening. Without feelings, consciousness cannot open. Without feelings, there is no real connection. And without feelings, you live a life so quiet, you forget you are alive. A woman's radiance is not in always being cheerful, agreeable, and making everyone comfortable. It lies in being honest with what's alive inside. And that unleaked, unedited energy creates a strange magnetism. You'll see it in the woman who speaks little, but every word carries weight. In the woman who quietly walks away when she no longer feels she belongs, not out of first time daring to live truthfully. If today is that moment for you, leave a small sign, the word truth, or anything that carries your own mark. Who knows, your whisper might be the first light for someone still quietly searching for themselves in the crowd. Number 3. From hiding your wounds to embracing the darkness. There is a stage in a woman's life where she believes, if she is strong enough, all wounds will simply vanish. That crying is weakness, trembling is shameful, and if she keeps smiling, keeps moving forward, the pains of the past will no longer catch up. She tries to tuck her hurt memories into a locked drawer in her mind, label it over, and turn away. She becomes someone fine in the eyes of everyone. But in her quietest moments, a strange fatigue washes over her, not from lack of sleep, not from pressure, but because for too long, she hasn't been allowed to be weak. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Wounds that are never faced do not disappear. They only change form into excessive tolerance, unexplained vigilance, small outbursts over nothing. And then, you no longer know what is driving you. You just feel you're living in an ill-fitting coat without knowing how to take it off. I once heard a woman share the moment she realized how long she had lived in the mask of strength. In a group therapy session, when asked, "When was the last time you cried wholeheartedly?" she laughed, a familiar reflex, and said, "I don't cry. I'm not the type who cries easily." But later, when another member shared about losing a loved one, she suddenly burst into tears, not because the story mirrored hers, but because it touched a wound she had forgotten. The night at age 14, when she sat outside the hospital where her mother died, and no one said a word to her. She didn't cry then. Not because she wasn't hurt, but because she feared that if she broke, no one would hold her together. And from that night, she never cried again until that day. The darkness Jung spoke of, the shadow, is not evil, nor something you should fear. It is all the feelings, memories, instincts you once had to hide to be accepted. As a child, if you were told you were too sensitive, you learned to hide your tears. If you were scolded for anger, you learned to swallow it. If you were mocked for being different, you learned to shrink to fit. All of these parts live in the shadows. And the paradox is, the more you try to appear strong, the larger the shadow grows, not to fight you, but to be seen. The most beautiful image I've found for the journey of embracing the darkness is that of an old basement in an abandoned house. At first, you stand at the basement door, afraid because it's too dark below, musty, and seems to hold things you'd rather not remember. But one day, with a small candle, you step down, slowly, trembling. You see old objects, faded photos, a child's dress, a doll with a broken arm, and realize these are pieces of your own memories, not perfect, not comfortable, but real. And as you begin to clean, to touch each thing without recoiling, you feel lighter. Not because you forgot the past, but because you stopped rejecting it. Modern science echoes what Jung long affirmed. In neuroscience, researchers like Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score, have shown that repressed memories don't just live in the mind, they are stored in the body. The nervous system, breathing patterns, stress reflexes, all remember the experiences the conscious mind has denied. And if unprocessed, they keep a woman living in defense mode, sleepless, emotionally numb, or never truly believing she is safe, even when everything around her is calm. So, embracing the darkness is not some vague philosophical act. It is a biological need. When you sit with your wounds, allowing yourself to cry, to tremble, even to panic, in a conscious, supported way, you send your nervous system a message. I'm no longer in danger. I'm being heard. And from there, real healing can begin. A woman who dares to step into the darkness is not pitiful, she is courageous. Because she understands that the more she runs, the more the pain will surface. But if she dares to look back, to stay in that space, even when everything outside says, "Haven't you moved on yet?" then that wound will stop controlling her life. From then on, she no longer needs a strong shell to survive. She doesn't need to be fine all the time. She can say, "Today I'm weak. I'm in pain. I need someone to sit with me." And that, kindness toward herself, is the foundation of true resilience. You'll notice this transformation in small things. When you stop feeling ashamed of having been hurt, when you tell a painful memory without having to justify it, when you no longer feel you must be good enough to deserve love, when you no longer try to fix yourself to heal, but simply sit, present, Just once, share a small story in the comments, or simply leave a line. I've been there. Who knows, your whisper might be the first light for someone still sitting in the dark. Number 4. From defining yourself by roles to seeing yourself as a living being. When a woman has been brave enough to sit with her pain, neither denying nor hiding it, no longer treating her darkness as something to conceal, she begins to step into a deeper layer of awakening. Here, she not only embraces the fragments, but starts to look back at the entire structure she once built, the roles, the identities, the expectations she carried to be seen as a good woman. And at this pause, she begins to ask herself, if I no longer have to be the good mother, the ideal partner, the excellent employee, do I still exist? If no one calls me by any title, will I still have value? That question, without being negative, is a turning point, because it leads her to the final transformation, from living as a role to living as a human being. In a world that runs on titles and labels, it is easy for a woman to equate herself with the roles she fulfills. She is a mother, so she must be patient. She is a wife, so she must nurture. She is a dutiful daughter, so she must swallow her feelings and avoid making anyone sad. She is a modern woman, so she must be independent, successful, attractive, and never let her inner mess show. Role by role, standard by standard, none of them wrong. But after too long in the machinery of becoming someone to be proud of, she starts to feel tired. Not because those roles aren't beautiful, but because when the audience leaves, the stage lights go out and the velvet curtain closes, she realizes she no longer knows who she is when no one is looking. She once thought that if she performed all her roles well, she would feel fulfilled. But the paradox is, the more she was recognized, the emptier she felt. Not because she lacked anything, but because she had never truly been present as herself. She lived to serve a function. She showed up to maintain a role. But one perfectly ordinary evening, when everything went still, she felt like a shell, hollow inside. No one to blame. Only that she could no longer live as a mask that smiles. And from that moment, a quiet transformation began. No longer the one who meets expectations well, she started learning to listen to herself. She placed her hand over her heart and asked, "If it's not to please anyone, what do I want?" This question needed no immediate answer. It was like a small door opening, leading her back to the human inside, where she didn't have to perform, didn't have to prove, only needed to breathe. She began changing very small things, no longer forcing herself into a packed schedule just to prove her productivity, no longer enduring awkward conversations to keep the peace, no longer holding on to a relationship just to avoid being called selfish. She learned to leave, not out of anger, but because she no longer wanted to abandon herself to keep up a role. I once heard a woman share that after her children grew up and left home, she felt an indescribable emptiness. For decades, she had lived with the title mother, a devoted, loving, self-sacrificing mother. But when her children no longer needed daily care, she didn't know what to do with her time, her energy, or even herself. She began trying unusual things, learning to paint, to dance, to travel alone. At first, she felt guilty, as if being selfish. But then, one morning in Florence, painting under the early sunlight, she cried. Not out of sadness, but because for the first time in 30 years, she felt she was truly living, not to fulfill a role, but to exist as a human being. Her radiance did not come from the glory of a perfect role. It came from daring to step off the stage, to walk as a real person. No applause needed, no spotlight shining, no one calling her name. She still shone, not because she was seen, but because she was living in tune with her soul. You may have been the wonderful child, the devoted mother, the accommodating wife, the exemplary colleague, but if one day you feel exhausted, lost, or empty, it may not be because you did something wrong. It may simply be that it's time to exist as a person before being a role. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." The greatest privilege of life is not to be recognized through roles, but to dare to live in your true self. You are not a job title, not a role, not what others have labeled you. You are a human being with feelings, desires, fatigue, light, and darkness. And only when you stop living as a function to be loved and start living as a being to be present, do you truly become radiant. The wonderful thing is, you don't have to escape all roles to start living authentically. You just have to remember that whether you are being a mother, a wife, a caregiver, or someone in another's eyes, inside, you are still a living person. A person with the right to breathe, to rest, to be imperfect. A person whose worth does not come from performing a role well, but simply from being alive. And then, little by little, you will notice something strange. The more you let go of labels, the more clearly you connect with yourself. No longer the ideal child, you become the inner child learning to forgive your parents. No longer the strong woman, you allow yourself to cry, to be tired, to sit quietly without proving anything. No longer the ideal lover, you don't need to be sexy, positive, or entertaining just to keep someone. You know that if someone loves you, they will stay because you are you, not because of a role you strain to maintain. In that moment, you may see everything around you change. Relationships become more genuine, no longer full of expectations and silent compromises. Time becomes precious because you no longer use it to sustain worn-out performances. Your mind becomes lighter because you stop managing images you must protect, labels you must cling to. You may still be a mother, a partner, a leader, but you no longer identify yourself solely with those roles. When your children no longer need you, when your partner leaves, when your work changes, you do not collapse, because you have never turned yourself into a function of those things. You are still you, no title, no job, no holding on to anyone, and still whole. Your radiance comes not from playing every role well, but from daring to be present even when no one applauds. A quiet light, but enduring. An energy that needs no performance, yet makes people feel safe with you, because they know that with you, they too don't need to act. And if one day you realize, I have lived too long to be seen, but have never truly seen myself, then perhaps today is the time to return. Return to the living being inside you, weakness and strength, mess and beauty, but real. Imperfect, but fully alive. You no longer need anyone to assign you worth, because true worth doesn't lie in roles, but in whether you dare to live as yourself. A woman who was once insecure does not become radiant by pushing harder, but by letting go of what she no longer is. When she stops living for approval, stops pleasing to keep someone, stops hiding her pain to appear strong, stops defining herself by roles, she begins to live truly. Not perfect, but whole. not built for someone to love, but becoming a naturally lovable presence, full of life. 4 changes, seemingly small, but they are turning points. They take her from a woman fragile from having to prove she's worthy to a steady presence, unshakable. Not because she's hardened, but because she's made peace with her truth, her darkness, the pieces once rejected. And if right now you feel something in you has just been named, as if something has softened, lightened, like a long breath after years of straining to be enough, then perhaps you have already begun this return. Share this video, follow the channel, and turn on the notification bell if you want to continue walking this journey. The journey where radiance doesn't come from trying harder, but from stopping pretending that you are not enough. Because when you live as a truth, no one needs to hold on to you, and no one can take away your light. Have you ever wondered, what if dreams are not mere randomness? What if they are messages sent from the deepest realms of humanity? Jung believed that among us exists a community of women who possess a wisdom not measured by metrics, but by flesh and intuition. When they enter a room, the air shifts hue, not because of what they say, but because their presence touches the deepest parts of us. Jung called this the transcendent emotional function, a refined tool that discerns truth, deception, pain, and joy hidden beneath the surface of interaction. For Jung, they are those with porous ego boundaries, able to access the collective unconscious without losing themselves. This strength is both a gift and a burden. To see clearly is to see even what others wish to conceal. Thus, they choose deliberate silence to heed the call of the soul and return to their authentic essence. When they re-engage with life, they bring a striking precision. Few words, perfectly timed, perfectly placed. If you've ever felt you knew something before your rational mind caught up, if loneliness has ever called your name, if meaningful coincidences always arrive at the right moment, then it's likely you belong to this community. In today's video, we will unlock the 6 invisible hallmarks of women who wield profound spiritual power. Stay until the end, for only when you see all 6 of these hallmarks in their entirety will you understand why they are not merely traits, but a summons to the journey of becoming your truest, deepest, undeniable self. Sign 1. Intuitive wisdom. There are women who, upon entering a room, make you feel you've known something before a single greeting is uttered. An invisible shift, like an undercurrent rippling through the air. No one can pinpoint it with the naked eye, but everyone feels it. Something is different. It's not physical beauty, nor performed confidence, but an energy field emanating from them, a form of intuitive wisdom that Carl Jung described as the highest expression of the emotional function. Jung emphasized that when the emotional function reaches its peak, it transcends ordinary sensitivity. It becomes a finely tuned instrument, like an antenna, picking up subtle signals most of us overlook. Many label these women as overly emotional or hypersensitive, but in truth, they are not simply prone to emotions. They perceive, on a spiritual level, what others cannot name. This is not emotion overpowering reason, but a wisdom that operates through intuition, through the ability to sense the invisible fields of people and spaces. Jung once analyzed that such women are like barometers of the human condition. They don't just hear what is said, they hear what is never spoken. And when they listen, they don't hoard it as a burden, but transform it into an invisible map to navigate who is genuine, who is false, who is in pain, who is joyful. This is why they are rarely deceived by appearances. Modern neuroscience sheds some light on this phenomenon. Studies on mirror neurons suggest the brain can reflect others' emotions. For some, this mechanism may be heightened, combining with accumulated experiences and latent memories to create an almost innate ability to read energy fields. They are like radios, tuning into signals others don't even know exist. However, this ability should not be romanticized as a gentle gift. To see clearly is to see truths others wish to hide. She will detect betrayal before evidence surfaces, know a relationship has decayed even when both parties pretend all is well. This can become a burden. When you constantly see through masks, life ceases to be simple. These women often find themselves isolated, not because they've done anything wrong, but because their presence inadvertently illuminates truths others aren't ready to face. For instance, in the workplace, a woman with this ability is often the first to warn that a project or partner feels off, even when everything looks perfect on paper. At first, she may be dismissed as overly cautious or paranoid, but time often proves her right. This acuity is not superstition, but a knack for recognizing patterns. Jung called it identifying patterns at the unconscious level. Interestingly, this ability isn't always innate. Often it is forged through the history of women across generations. Think of the grandmothers and mothers in families that survived pain, violence, or adversity. They had to read signs in footsteps, intentions in glances to endure. Thus, intuitive wisdom may be a cross-generational inheritance, a kind of neural legacy passed through bloodlines. A woman today may not understand why she feels drained after a party, or why she senses something amiss in a new acquaintance. But that is the flow of her ancestors operating within her, a radar instinct programmed through generations. Yet Jung reminds us that seeing clearly does not mean judging. This woman is not necessarily the one pointing fingers to expose others, but a quiet mirror. Her authentic presence alone is enough to stir unease in those hiding their true selves. Like light that reveals darkness without speaking, she doesn't need to point out truths. They manifest in her presence. Still, to live with this gift, they must learn to set boundaries. Without a filter, they risk exhaustion, overwhelmed by others' emotions as if they were their own. Jung called this the peril of those with flexible ego boundaries. They can dissolve into the surrounding energy if they don't learn to hold their center. Thus, true intuitive wisdom is not just about perceiving, but also about knowing when to close the door and when to open it. This is the vital art that allows them to preserve both their sensitivity and inner strength. Sign 2. Communion with the collective unconscious. When the inner mirror is polished through healthy boundaries, it begins to reflect the shared currents of humanity. Carl Jung spoke of a layer deeper than the personal ego, a vast ocean he called the collective unconscious. If the personal unconscious holds individual memories and experiences, the collective unconscious is like an eternal library of humanity, storing archetypal symbols, ancient myths, and spiritual patterns that have shaped every civilization. Most of us only glimpse it in strange dreams, fleeting premonitions, or sudden intuitive flashes. But for women with heightened spiritual wisdom, the door to this treasury is not just ajar, it is wide open. They don't merely catch glimmers, they live within its flow. Recall a dream you've had, a snake slithering from the shadows, a rushing river sweeping you away, or a strange house where you enter but can't find the way out. Such dreams often unsettle us, but in Jung's view, they are the language of the collective unconscious. The snake is not just a snake, it may symbolize rebirth or transformation. The water is not merely a physical stream, but a metaphor. They might feel restless or anxious without cause, only to learn days later of a family or community event mirroring their unease. Science might call this intuition, but Jung saw it as resonance with the collective unconscious, a realm where individual minds are never separate but interwoven in a broader network. This makes them collective interpreters, living not just for themselves, but carrying insights, lessons, or warnings from a shared system. To visualize, think of the internet. Most people access a few websites, seeking information for work or personal entertainment. But these women have admin access to a vast repository holding humanity's cultural history, symbols, and stories. When they dream or reflect, it's as if they're reading an ancient text and translating it into advice or action for the present. Pause here to close the external notebook and open an inner page. If you could truly tap into this ancient database, what dream is knocking at your door? What symbol recurs in your life like a patient signal? If coincidences are not random but timely whispers, what are you being called to in this phase of your journey? Linger in a few beats of silence to feel the resonance of these questions. Often it's in the space without answers that your true self begins to speak. Yet, this gift comes with challenges. Not every message from the unconscious is clear. The richness of symbols can lead to misinterpretation. A string of coincidences might be a true message or merely the ego's craving for meaning. Thus, Jung stressed the importance of discerning what is a call from the depths and what is merely a projection of desire. A woman with profound spiritual wisdom must walk the delicate line between insight and superstition. When she maintains clarity, she avoids being swept away by illusions and becomes a true bridge between the collective unconscious and lived reality. This makes them sought out for advice, not because they know much, but because they translate symbols into accessible language. A strange dream, through their lens, becomes a guide for healing. A random event, through their perspective, becomes a signpost. In a modern world where people are lost amid data and noise, this ability serves as an invisible compass. In Jung's view, These women embody the archetype of the seeress. They don't live solely for themselves, but carry a collective role, maintaining the connection between humanity and the invisible treasury that has nourished our culture and souls since time immemorial. They remind us that life is not governed solely by logic and matter, but also by meaningful symbols and coincidences, by deep currents that reason can never fully control. If you've ever had a dream come true, encountered coincidences that sent chills down your spine, or felt, "The universe is speaking to me," know that it's not an illusion. It may be the call of the collective unconscious. And perhaps you carry a piece of this hallmark, the ability to commune with the invisible depths that Jung devoted his life to exploring. Sign 3. Knowing how to detach from the crowd. If the second hallmark reveals how such a woman can converse with the collective unconscious as if listening to echoes from an ancient ocean, then the third unveils how she maintains that clarity. She knows when to withdraw from the noisy world to return to herself, for no one can hear the soul's whispers in a room filled with clamor. And Jung understood well that individuation, the journey to becoming one's true self, always requires phases of withdrawal from the collective. Not desperate isolation, but purposeful solitude, a silent laboratory of the soul. In a society that glorifies constant connection, where self-worth is often measured by the number of friends on social media or the frequency of appearances at events, a woman's choice to step out of that whirlwind is easily seen as eccentric, even problematic. But for her, silence is not a lack, but a source of life. When she closes the door, shuts out the sounds, and is left only with the space between herself and her inner world, that is when truth emerges like sediment settling after the water ceases to be stirred. Imagine a crystal-clear lake. If you constantly throw stones, the surface never calms enough to reflect the sky. The human mind is the same. In the crowd, amid the ceaseless flow of opinions, praises, criticisms, and comparisons, we can hardly see our own essence. But when detached from the crowd, free from the pressure to perform for others, such a woman can clearly behold the sky of her soul. And in that quietude, she is reborn. Jung emphasized that individuation is the journey of breaking free from collective molds to find the intact identity of the self. This does not mean opposing society or denying the collective, but a necessary process to avoid dissolving into shared expectations. A woman with profound spiritual wisdom understands that without knowing how to depart, she can never return to her own truth. For the crowd always tends to impose. There, everyone is encouraged to be alike, think alike, live alike. And for an awakened soul, living that way is no different from dying day by day. For example, some women, upon facing a major shock, loss, breakup, or career crisis, do not choose to dive into parties or seek comfort in the crowd. Instead, they retreat inward. They begin journaling, spending time walking alone, or even remaining silent for weeks on end. On the surface, it may seem like she is lost, but in reality, she is rebuilding herself from the roots. For in the silence, she finds the call of the soul, what Jung called the inner voice of the self. When she returns, she emerges with a steadfastness and clarity that the crowd never bestowed. It is crucial to understand that this withdrawal differs entirely from passive loneliness. constitutes their invisible strength, the power of one who dares not need the crowd to prove her worth. Sign 4. Transforming pain into wisdom, the embodiment of the transcendent function. And precisely in those moments of quietude, a greater challenge awaits them, daring to stare directly into their deepest wounds. Instead of avoiding or fleeing, they enter it, embrace it, then transform it into wisdom. This is the path Jung called the transcendent function, the soul's capacity to reconcile contradictions, turn crises into rebirth opportunities, and transmute suffering into living knowledge. Most people fear the inner darkness. When in pain, we often seek distraction, burying ourselves in work, plunging into amusements, or self-soothing with optimistic slogans. But for women with profound spiritual strength, they do not easily abandon the pain, for they understand that pain is not an enemy, but a doorway. Hidden behind the wound is fertile ground where wisdom sprouts. Fleeing pain is no different from rejecting the seed of growth. Imagine raw metal thrown into fire. At extreme heat, it warps, melts, and seems to disintegrate. But that very process refines it, removes impurities, turning it into a more enduring alloy. Humans are the same. These women know that what seems to destroy them, loss, betrayal, breakdown, is the flame forging their essence. They do not deny the pain, but enter it like stepping into fire, emerging with a pure gold of wisdom. Jung called this the archetype of the wounded healer. Such a woman cannot merely learn healing from books. Her power comes from direct experience, prolonged sleepless nights, feelings of abandonment, helplessness before deep past wounds. But instead of letting those wounds drown her, she learns to observe, interpret, and gradually turn them into a key to empathy. When someone approaches with their own pain, she can look into their eyes and say, "I understand." Not with rational understanding, but with the very blood and tears that have flowed through her body. For example, a woman who has endured the loss of a loved one can sense the devastation in another's grieving heart. She does not offer hollow words like, "Be strong," or "Time will heal," for she knows such phrases only deepen the wound. Instead, she is present, sits beside, silent, letting her presence become companionship. This is the strength of one who has traversed suffering. They do not fear the silence of tears. They do not rush to patch the wound, for they know healing only begins when pain is honored. From a modern psychological viewpoint, this process can be likened to post-traumatic growth. Many studies show that those who confront and accept suffering often develop deeper empathy, a greater ability to find meaning in life, and more enduring inner strength. A woman with profound spiritual wisdom not only undergoes this unconsciously, but also knows how to use it as a means to serve others. The core of Jung's philosophy is, the transcendent function operates when we hold two opposites in mind, without hastily choosing one side. Pain and joy, darkness and light, despair and hope. Instead of excluding, this woman learns to grasp both, allowing that tension to birth a third capacity, wisdom that transcends. This is not superficial reconciliation, but a soul marriage where the ego and shadow unite, creating a broader, deeper self. Thus, these women often carry a presence that makes others feel safe. Not because they are perfect or have never fallen, but quite the opposite, because they have fallen, yet risen, carrying fire from the darkness. They are living proof that one can overcome suffering without losing compassion. Their presence is like a lantern. It does not dispel the darkness, but shines enough to guide the way. And what about you? If you've ever had a pain that, in retrospect, transformed into understanding, write down a few lines. Sometimes that act alone opens the door to your own awareness. However, it cannot be denied that this journey is full of risks. Entering pain demands courage, for many may get trapped, finding no way out. The difference here is that a woman with profound spiritual strength accepts that risk as a necessary right. She knows that without descending into hell, one will never find the treasure. Jung once wrote, "No enlightenment without passing through darkness." And these women are the embodiment of that philosophy. And precisely for this reason, such women become pivotal markers in the collective journey. For each time one transforms her own pain into wisdom, she not only heals herself, but opens a path for others. Pain ceases to be personal tragedy and becomes the material of empathy, of human knowledge. Emerging from darkness with fire in hand, they not only illuminate themselves, but also carry an invisible light that can soothe others' hearts. Sign 5. The healing energy field. Jung once emphasized that in therapy, the decisive factor lies not in techniques or advice, but in the being of the person. Her mere appearance, without blame or interference, calms the air. Some call this charisma, others an aura, but Jung would see it as a manifestation of a self that has reconciled its darkness and light. Having walked through suffering, faced and integrated the shadow, she no longer emanates chaos. She becomes a sanctuary for others, simply because she has become a sanctuary for herself. Think of a stringed instrument. When one string is plucked, others with matching frequencies resonate in harmony, a phenomenon of resonance. A woman with a healing energy field is that tuned string. In her presence, souls out of sync resonate and realign to balance. This is no magic but a natural law of psychology and energy. Notably, she never uses this ability as a performance. She understands energy as a sacred resource, not to be flaunted or squandered. Thus, she speaks little, acts sparingly, but her words and actions carry weight. She knows a sincere glance can heal more than a lengthy speech. Like an artist of silence, she uses simplicity to create a profound impact. In reality, this often leaves others puzzled. Many leave a meeting with her saying, "I don't recall exactly what she said, but I feel lighter." Or, "Being near her makes me feel at peace." This is the proof of a healing energy field, an invisible yet potent impact surpassing any advice. Jung would call this the power of the self, the core of being that has integrated all fragmented parts, from light to shadow. When someone lives in harmony with the self, they need not strive to influence outwardly. The power naturally radiates. This woman is proof. She teaches not through philosophy but through the quiet emanating from a soul that has endured purgatory and returned whole. Yet, like any gift, this ability comes with responsibility. Without guarding her energy boundaries, she risks exhaustion, as wounded souls instinctively seek her like an anchor. She must learn to discern when to open fully and when to reserve for herself. Otherwise, she becomes an overloaded vessel. But once she masters this balance, her healing energy field ceases to be a burden and becomes a lasting gift to life. And that is the strength Jung saw as the essence of spiritual maturity. When you need to prove nothing, yet your presence transforms the crowd. Sign 6. Living in the flow of synchronicity, not seeking the sacred, but attracting it. The final hallmark reveals the secret that makes their lives a book written in wondrous pages. They do not chase the sacred, it is drawn to them. This is the workings of synchronicity, Carl Jung's renowned concept, often translated as meaningful coincidence. For most of us, synchronicity appears as rare moments that send a shiver. Thinking of an old friend and receiving their message instantly, wandering into a bookstore and the one book you need falls from the shelf. Meeting a stranger whose brief conversation resolves a silent question in your heart. We often attribute these to chance or luck. But for women with profound spiritual wisdom, these are not rare. They are the rhythm of their lives. They dwell in a state Jung described as resonance between the inner and outer worlds. The difference is that they do not force synchronicity to appear. They don't chase signs or obsess over messages from the universe. Instead, their inner harmony, their alignment with the self, Jung's center of being, makes them natural magnets for meaningful events. Like a magnet, when they reach inner attunement, the universe responds by sending people, situations, and opportunities that match that frequency. Picture a damp forest after rain, where thousands of fireflies initially flicker sporadically. Then, suddenly, when humidity, temperature, and biological rhythms align, the entire forest pulses in unison. No signal sent, only harmony occurring. This woman is that rhythmic anchor. When her inner world aligns, the flashes of the outer world synchronize, meaningful coincidences, timely encounters, doors opening at the right moment. Without chasing, she is in the right place at the right time. Jung called this a non-causal connecting principle, meaning not everything is linked by direct cause and effect. Sometimes, events physically separate are bound by a layer of meaning. A woman living in this flow doesn't overanalyze, for she knows meaning is the universe's own language. When meaning resonates within, that is signal enough. From a scientific view, skeptics may call this selective attention, noticing more of what we focus on. But what sets these women apart is not just seeing signs, but acting in harmony with them. They neither obsess nor depend, using synchronicity as a complementary map, blended with reason and intuition. This fusion gives their lives a flowing rhythm, as if guided by an invisible hand. Interestingly, many ancient cultures recognized this principle. The Greeks called it kairos, the divine moment where time meets human readiness. Eastern traditions speak of the Tao, the natural flow that those who align with it find everything arriving on time. Jung, in psychological terms, named this experience synchronicity, and a woman with profound spiritual wisdom is its living embodiment. However, Jung also warned of a risk. Not every coincidence is synchronicity. Sometimes the eager ego clings to any sign to fulfill desires. Through deep self-awareness, this woman learns to distinguish the universe's true voice from the ego's illusions. This discernment keeps her from delusion, preventing her from seeing every random event as fate, maintaining clarity in her trust in invisible guidance. And this clarity makes her life proof that the sacred need not be sought. It finds those ready to receive it. When your inner world is aligned, you don't chase signs, they come to you. When you no longer crave to prove your uniqueness, your life unfolds like a mythic tale. Perhaps this is why people describe these women as having uncanny luck. But it's not luck, it's resonance. They are like polished mirrors, reflecting the precise light needed, and thus the universe cannot help but respond. It is a secret dialogue between soul and world. Ultimately, these invisible hallmarks are not for display, but the quiet essence of a soul choosing to live true to its depths. Their strength comes not from clamor, but from harmony between inner and outer worlds. Their influence is not measured in numbers, but felt in the calming of space when they are present. Jung showed that when the unconscious and conscious find a shared voice, life ceases to be disjointed events and becomes a meaningful, clear, luminous story. These women need no pedestal. They stand firm in themselves. They need no validation, for truth manifests through how they live. And that reminds us, returning to your true self is not escaping life, but entering it with deeper presence. If these words resonate with you, leave a mark with a like. And if you wish to join us on this journey of exploring the soul's depths through Jung's lens, subscribe to the channel. For perhaps each meeting is itself a meaningful coincidence between you and the wisdom awaiting to be awakened.